After countless warnings, millions evacuated, Hurricane Matthew has finally arrived. We'll have the latest on the powerful hurricane.
The storm has already devastated part of the Caribbean. We'll hear from a missionary right now in Haiti.
Was a Laurel County man protecting his property or being a threat to police when he fired shots?
This is WKYT News at 5:30.
Good evening to you. We, along with the entire country, continue to keep a close eye on Hurricane Matthew.
Take a look here, right here behind us. You can see just how big the storm is as it heads up the Florida coast. Here's a rapid rundown. The steady march of Hurricane Matthew has left more than 1 million customers in Florida without power. Some more communities on the South Carolina coast are imposing curfews as the winds and rains approach the state. And President Obama has declared a state of emergency in North Carolina. We start now, though, with meteorologist Jim Caldwell in the First Alert Weather Center. Jim?
Yeah, it has been action-packed, obviously, right there along the coast with the rounds of rain. You can see the wind-driven rain also blowing that debris around in the video, and that's going to be common sight, unfortunately, down there. The storm itself has weakened considerably compared to what it was at its peak with that Category 4 strength. It's now down to a Category 2 storm. Still, that's nothing to sneeze at. I mean, it is still certainly a potent storm. Winds at 110 miles per hour at the center of circulation, Category 2, and moving north. And again, it stays on a northerly track. If it stays exactly on it, that means that landfall would almost be imminent. At this point, some of the projections still have it staying just out to sea a little bit, as you see here with this, keeping it away from making a true landfall. However, the margin of error also considers land there in South Carolina as being kind of the focal point for potential landfall a little bit later on as we get into your Saturday. So that's Saturday around 2 o'clock, making its pass by Charleston, South Carolina, or it could be making its way inland a little bit more. So again, we're going to have to watch and see and pay very close attention over the coming days to see exactly how this storm evolves out there. One thing for certain, whether the impact of the direct hit matter or not, the rainfall that it picks up on could be somewhere between 7 and 15 inches there along the east coast there of South Carolina going into North Carolina. Just a tremendous amount of rain. Meteorologist Rob Nucatola from our sister station WCTV is tracking Matthew's path in Florida.
A gigantic difference by just 50 miles. We've made it to Gainesville. It took us a good couple hours to go 70 miles just to find some fuel since leaving Daytona early this morning when the weather was really starting to get rough. We had 50-mile-per-hour wind gusts. There were reports more than 70-mile-per-hour wind gusts. 50 miles from where we are right now are getting some of those more significant rain bands and heavy winds. In Gainesville, it's breezy, it's rainy, but it's nothing like they're getting just a little bit farther to the east. And the difference between I-95 and I-75, gigantic. I-95, not passable. I-75, very drivable. And that's because the storm itself staying out to sea, mirroring the coast and working its way very slowly up to the north. Areas along the first coast, areas of coastal Georgia, they're in for the worst of the weather as it turns afternoon, turns evening, turns nighttime. Areas to the west are just barely getting scraped. I'm meteorologist Rob Nucatola in Gainesville.
Now, I'll be back in about 10 minutes with the latest on where Hurricane Matthew is headed.
Jim, thank you. And more Kentucky power companies are sending aid to areas damaged by Hurricane Matthew. Kentucky Power says about 120 employees left last night and should be arriving in Lake City, Florida today. And about 80 linemen from Kentucky's electric cooperatives left this morning for the area between Gainesville and Jacksonville, Florida.
And while most of the country is keeping an eye on what Hurricane Matthew is going to do next, one Lexington woman is keeping an eye on the storm's aftermath in Haiti. Diane Cornelius runs a missionary service to the island. She has a colleague in Haiti right now, and it's been difficult for her to reach them. WKYT's Hillary Thornton has the story of their ministry and what the storm left behind.
And this is just some damage of some of the homes within that village. And you can clearly see that trees are down, their fences are down.
Diane Cornelius is describing the powerful punch Hurricane Matthew laid on the island of Haiti. Cornelius had her flight canceled to the ravaged nation. She and her colleague Jody Castillo are missionaries to the people of Haiti. Castillo lives on the island and is giving Cornelius updates of the storm's devastation when she can.
Well, she has said that her village is just completely destroyed. I mean, they are, they're trying to pick up the pieces. Even as of yesterday, around 11 a.m., they were not even able to get out because it was so muddy. The mudslides coming down from the mountains. She lives near a mountain range, and just the mud coming down just flooded the streets.
Castillo says the internet and the power, if any, is spotty. The only way the two can communicate is through an app called Voxer, sort of like voicemail. This is Castillo's view of what's going on.
The town is very, very quiet this afternoon. This morning, everyone was, if they didn't have a good house, they were going to a better house somewhere else. One church already lost the roof to their place.
In a poor country that is still trying to get over a major earthquake 6 years ago, now they have to deal with another devastating blow that will no doubt have long-lasting effects.
Right now, and just getting them strong enough to start clearing out the roads and rebuilding their homes.
In Lexington, Hillary Thornton, WKYT.
Diane Cornelius plans to reschedule her visit and will continue her missionary work in January.
Keep up with the latest on Hurricane Matthew by logging on to WKYT.com or with the WKYT News app. You can download it for free on the app or Google Play stores.
Was he protecting his property or being a threat to police? A Laurel County man was arrested after police say he fired shots at them, yet the suspect's family claims it's all just a big misunderstanding.
WKYT's Phil Pendleton has what police and the suspect's family are saying about what happened last night in Corbin.
63-year-old Roy Hibbard was in jail earlier today, charged with 4 counts of wanton endangerment. The victims in this alleged case being police officers. Police say their search for a suspect took a very dangerous turn late Thursday night. Local, state, and federal law enforcement officers were canvassing North Corbin Thursday and looking for a man who had assaulted a deputy when police say they literally came under fire. Officers said they did not have to return fire, though, and took the man into custody without further incident. Police say they're not sure why Hibbard fired, but suspect that he may have been under the influence of hydrocodone.
This man just walks out of the wild blue, fires 2 rounds at the officers that's standing down in the road.
Relatives say Hibbard was aware of the man police were looking for. They say he was simply trying to protect his property from that man.
And Roy thought that he was trying to break in on him, so Roy come out shooting. So, we got to do something about all this problem that we're having.
Wells says the Gooden area has been hit hard by crime. She says people are burning buildings and breaking into places. And she claims Hibbard was only looking out for himself and others. And Hibbard's sister-in-law tells me that Hibbard had absolutely no reason to get violent toward police, saying that he has worked hard all of his life, recently retiring from a company, and the fact that he would help people and not hurt them. In Laurel County, Phil Pendleton, WKYT.
Police say when they arrested Hibbard, they also confiscated the gun used in the shooting.
Leaders from across Kentucky met today for the All-Tech Innovation Forum. Our county-by-county coverage at 5:30 begins in Pike County. The forum hosts entrepreneurs to show off new opportunities for investing in Kentucky. It also focuses on using state resources and building sustainable industries in the state.
We have more waterfront than any other state in the Union, except for Alaska. And that's something we need to promote, we need to develop, and we need to continue to expand.
All-Tech held an innovation forum yesterday in Bowling Green. And in Anderson County, a construction worker is in the hospital after falling from a roof. It happened this morning at the Wild Turkey Distillery. According to the Anderson News, the worker fell from the roof of a barrel house under construction and was airlifted to the hospital. The name and condition of that worker has not yet been released.
The University of Kentucky unveiling its newly remodeled business building. We'll take you to today's grand opening up next on WKYT.
I'm Bill Bryant. Coming up on The Bottom Line, Republicans and Democrats square off on Kentucky newsmakers ahead of Sunday's presidential debate. And we ask the red meat question about coal. That and more ahead.
Keep up with the latest news on WKYT.com. Join the conversation on Twitter and become a part of the WKYT Facebook family.
The presidential candidates preparing for the next debate.
Bill Bryant has the details in The Bottom Line.
Good evening. Presidential candidates Hillary Clinton and Donald Trump are set to debate again Sunday evening. You'll see it live here on WKYT at 9 p.m. This debate will be town hall style with two moderators. Trump held a town hall in New Hampshire but denied to reporters that he was practicing in that format. Hillary Clinton is off the campaign trail to prepare for the debate, which once again could bring in a huge audience. On Kentucky Newsmakers, Democratic strategist Crystal Ball and Kentucky Republican spokesman Trey Watson give me some predictions about the encounter, and both acknowledge that coal job losses are likely to be a big issue for voters in eastern Kentucky. But they also say their candidate has the better plan for coal country.
It's not a recession, it's not a downturn, it is an economic depression going on in East Kentucky, and it's caused by the Obama administration, not just the regulations they put on coal, certainly the financial environment and the cost of low cost price of natural gas is hurting in the marketplace, but we could be exporting our coal to other countries that don't have natural gas.
But the truth is that coal was in decline long before the Obama administration came along. So you have to be thinking about the future. And I know Donald Trump will go out there and say whatever people want to hear, and actually I find it infuriating because the truth is that he's not going to be able to change the global marketplace, and he has no plan for how to move forward in East Kentucky and the rest of Appalachia.
Also on Kentucky Newsmakers, more extensive clips from House Speaker Greg Stumbo and the governor's chief of staff over a legislative committee that will investigate the governor. Kentucky Newsmakers airs in its entirety Sunday morning at 6 on WKYT. It repeats Sunday at 10 a.m. on the CW Lexington. Set your DVR or catch it then. It's a lively show. An interest group has started a new ad that depicts Lexington Mayor and Democratic U.S. Senate candidate Jim Gray as a puppet of Hillary Clinton. Gray has endorsed Clinton for president. The ad that started today is being run by Concerned American Voters, which is a pro-Rand Paul group. It's apparently spending about $350,000 to run the ad around the state. In response, Gray's campaign says voters will, quote, see right through this, and call Gray an independent businessman whose record speaks for itself. Former Kentucky Republican Congressman Jeff Davis won't be supporting Donald Trump for president. A letter signed by Davis and 29 other former members of Congress says Trump has made a mockery of the principles they tried to bring to Washington. And the deadline to register for the November election is next Tuesday, October 11th, 4 p.m. local time. Now remember, you can do that online at govoteky.com. Bill Bryant, WKYT.
It was the official grand opening of the new Gatton College of Business and Economics at the University of Kentucky this morning. The renovation and expansion of the facility added new high-tech classrooms, a simulated trading floor, and places for students to work on projects.
It's not only bigger, it's better because of all the technology and the spaces for students to hang out and to be here, to be more engaged with us. They're just going to perform better and do better in the job market.
The Gatton project was the first building on UK's campus to be funded completely through philanthropy.
Now, your hour-by-hour forecast with meteorologist Jim Caldwell.
Very pleasant weather showing up around here in Kentucky, but along the East Coast we are still tracking Hurricane Matthew, which is now a Category 2 storm. Still, nonetheless, a powerful one rolling along the coast, pushing in a lot of heavy rain and, of course, the storm surge, 110 mile per hour central wind there close to the eye wall. So that's the maximum sustained winds measured within Hurricane Matthew at this point. A lot happening around the country right now. We've got a very potent cold front that's going to be interacting with Matthew here in the coming days. What this front's going to do for us is it's going to change things a lot. By the time we get into tomorrow, we're stuck in the 60s for highs. So very pleasant for us, while folks to our south and east are certainly dealing with that as it continues to wrap up. But that front will eventually come along and deflect Matthew from the east coast. Of course, Matthew's then going to do a little bit of a dance around the Atlantic and then turn right back down toward Florida, a very weakened version of itself. So we'll have to see exactly what happens here in the coming days with the overall flow in the pattern. Here's what we've got. By 8 o'clock tonight, this was just one of our models. You can see the heavy rains now really making their transition into Georgia. There's Savannah, and then all the way into South Carolina as well. And that's where it's going to be hugging, where they could pick up anywhere between 7 and 15 inches of rainfall because of this storm over the next few days here. There you see Myrtle Beach, a hot spot, of course, for a lot of folks to travel to anywhere along the East Coast. And then that rounds of heavy heavy rain continue to Wilmington all the way up to the Outer Banks. It's just a tremendous rainmaker at that point, with, of course, the storm surge continuing to just push into the area and then finally working its way back out to sea a little bit more. Now, that's Hurricane Matthew wrapping up probably sometime on Sunday. It could impact us tonight, and already is, really. According to the Defender Radar Network, some showers are showing up into eastern Kentucky, and a small risk will continue through tonight. And I think even into the early morning hours tomorrow, you could run into a few rogue showers that are spilling over from Matthew's tropical rains into that area. Here you see some of the cloud cover showing up as well, and some of those showers even into Pike County. We had some into Harlan, Letcher County showing up a little bit earlier as well, but now it's mainly just the clouds. We could run into a few more, and as that storm continues working its way northward, more of the moisture could fill in westward, which is why I highlighted more of the area. Here comes that front I was talking about that shakes things up for us, and you can also see the model run keeping the rain chances live at midnight and beyond there. But that front, initially, early on in the week, it was talking about, or it was trying to pick up on rain, a good soaking rain around here, but all that moisture is being robbed by Matthew. And then you see the front getting off the coast there, and then again, changing things. Here we go, off to our 7-day forecast, which has very pleasant stuff showing up. We have a nice weekend. 60s is nice to me. I mean, I can handle that all day. Perhaps a little bit cool at night, though, going into next week with some of those 40s that get into the area, guys.
Yeah, so much going on here, and with Keeneland and the game and just everything else in the fall. I'll take 60s.
Well, 60s are perfect for you until it gets to the 50s during the evening hours. Watch out for that. That'll have a bite.
Thank you, sir.
Okay.
A couple of collisions working, including an injury crash at Loudon and North Broadway. 3 non-injuries, Rosemont Gardner, Nicholasville Road. There's one at Greendale near Buck Lane and one at Nicholasville and Farm. Now, of course, the other issue is Keeneland traffic, and we can see that in Versailles approaching the circle. You can see all the red there, and it's going to stay that way right in front of Keeneland, past Man-O-War, and pretty much to the county line toward Versailles, in and outbound. Drive times this afternoon were okay so far across the Clays Ferry Bridge. No major issues to Richmond. Looks like about 27 minutes. To Frankfurt's 29 minutes, and to Paris 26. Now back to in the studio.
Just ahead, Vandy coming into Commonwealth Stadium tomorrow afternoon.
Mark Stoops' team has been playing better, and there is one phase of the game that has pretty much gone unnoticed. And we'll hear from Vandy coach Derek Mason how his team reacted to losing a couple of close conference games. That's next on WKYT. Kentucky looks like an improved football team over the last 2 weeks, and now the Cats get back home a slight favorite to beat Vanderbilt tomorrow afternoon. Mark Stoops believes his team has made good strides over the last few weeks, and one thing that may have gone unnoticed is the play of the Cats special teams, now coached by Matt House, who's in his first season.
I love what he does, and you know, he has great passion and energy, and our guys are very detailed, but we have a lot of players, and that does put some stress on our guys too, because a lot of them are playing on offense and defense, and they have to play on those special teams units, and you know, it takes its toll on us, but we've done a very good job. Matt's done a great job, and our kickers have done a very good job.
Vanderbilt has been involved in some close football games. The Commodores lost 13-6 last week to Florida. They lost a close game to South Carolina to open the season. They won a close game in overtime over Western. Derek Mason expects his team to play well tomorrow.
This team hasn't been jaded at all in his spirit about, you know, playing the game, approaching practices, you know, doing the work that needs to be done. I mean, the mindset is a proactive mindset. It's not okay, well, woe is me. This group doesn't feel sorry for itself. You know, what's happened to us in those games can be traced back to our own issues, not somebody else's issues. So those are things that we can control, and I believe that this group, you know, fully expects to play well this weekend.
So it is Vanderbilt and Kentucky, 4 o'clock kickoff tomorrow on the SEC Network. One of the big-time showdowns on the high school docket tonight has Somerset at Danville, both ranked in the Class 2A top 10. These two are similar in style, having lost to teams who play power football, and the Jumpers and the Admirals have offenses that can light up the board. Once a power team under Sam Harp, Danville now utilizes more of a speed game. The Jumpers coach would much rather see the Ads pass than run.
It helps us a great deal, to be quite honest with you, due to the lack of numbers and things like that you have in 2A ball. And we're not special because a lot of teams face the fact that you don't have a lot of numbers in 2A. We had trouble tackling last year, and last year with Danville was very, very well coached, had a lot of athletes, was able to run the ball, and they got a heck of a quarterback back this year. A young man can whiz it and throw it all over the field. So yes, spreading it does give, I feel like, us an advantage, or at least it keeps you healthy going through and get your seating for the playoffs.
And in the next half hour, we'll hear from Wildcat freshman Malik Monk. We'll be right back.